Hello there. Welcome to episode 1 of the Hello There podcast, a podcast where I talk about everything on my mind that has to do with Star Wars, any other fandoms, offer advice, interview guests, and much more. New episodes every Tuesday. Hi everybody, I hope we're doing well. I had an entire first episode in mind. However, I recently went onto this anonymous app where I asked y'all to send in questions, like anything you need advice on, etc., etc. And one of the questions I got was, it kind of caught me off guard. It kind of got me thinking. The question was, what is the best memory that you have as a child about Star Wars? And it kind of got me thinking, the biggest goal when it comes to my content, my YouTube videos, everything that I do online, it has to do with not only me bringing my own inner child to life, but helping other people kind of realize that it's okay to bring your inner child to life. You know what I mean? It's important, you know? My biggest goal when it comes to content creation is to make people happy and make people feel like they're allowed to love these nerdy, geeky things. They're allowed to love what they want to love, and there's nothing wrong with that. I get a lot of questions asking me, like, what are ways that I can be okay with this? Like, what are ways that I can kind of help my inner child flourish? You know? It took me a while, but I feel like I've finally gotten to the point where I can post whatever I want to post online, make whatever videos I want to post, talk about whatever I want to talk about, and feel comfortable doing so. And I thought that I could spend this episode kind of talking to you guys about how to bring your inner child back to life. I feel like a lot of people struggle with it nowadays, and I think I can give you guys some advice on this. So I first want to, of course, answer the question that was, what is the best memory that you have as a child about Star Wars? As a child, I loved everything when it comes to video games. I played on my GameCube all the time. I played on my PS3, my PS2, my Game Boys. I played Pokemon all the time. When it comes to Star Wars, I grew up in an entirely Star Wars obsessed family. My uncle specifically is a huge Star Wars collector, so growing up, I would always be at my cousin's house. My cousins were my best friends. They were like my brothers, and I grew up going over to their house all the time. We would play Halo. We would play the original Battlefront game. It was incredible. I remember playing like on Hoth all the time. That was the specific one I remember. And my uncle is a huge Star Wars collector. He would always have these life-size Star Wars characters all around the house. You would turn a corner and you would see C-3PO. You would turn a corner and you would see a stormtrooper just randomly standing there. You name it, he probably has it. All master replicas, Sideshow, Gentle Giant, any collectible you've heard of, he probably has. It's absolutely insane. I've been grateful enough to be given some of the collectibles from him, which is insanely nice. Like, I'm looking at a Palpatine Master Replica's lightsaber that he recently gave me, which was so kind. Maybe I'll do a video on that soon. But I'd say my best memory as a child was just growing up and seeing all these collectibles, watching all these incredible movies that opened up an entirely new realm and galaxy, I guess, in my mind. And it created so many new ideas and expanded my imagination and gave me so much hope for everything. And being able to play as these characters in Battlefront and being able to take home a piece of this incredible franchise home as a collectible, I feel like a good way to connect to your inner child, especially as a Star Wars fan, is to collect. Like, there's truly no better way to connect with your favorite fandom than to own something that a character owns in the fandom. So, for example, I have my Starkiller replica lightsaber. Starkiller is one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, and having his lightsaber really makes me feel connected to the character and it reminds me of the incredible games I grew up playing and the games that I love. It's a good feeling to collect, you know? Allow collecting to be a fun thing for you. Like, go out to comic book stores, go out to thrift stores and antique stores and find little pieces, no matter how big or how small they are, little pieces of your favorite movies, favorite shows, and just collect. It's so fun. Your kids will grow up to love the thing that you love, and you can gift them your collectibles. And I don't know. I think collecting is just, it's so cool. Not only is collecting a huge part of bringing your inner child back to life, but cosplaying is something that I never thought I would do, but something that I'm glad I did, you know? I remember years ago thinking, oh my God, I'd never cosplay. I was like, I would never be a cosplayer. And then lo and behold, I bought an X-Wing fighter pilot suit at Disney, and I wore that for like a day straight. And slowly my cosplays grew to now I have like 20 probably of all Star Wars cosplays. Cosplaying, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. If you just grab like a closet cosplay or find items that look like a character that you love or whatever it may be, finding and putting together a cosplay of your favorite character is one of the most fulfilling and fun activities you could ever do. Recently, I did a Mara Jade cosplay. With this cosplay, I tried to make it in a day. So I gave myself like a challenge to go out and find pieces to make this cosplay in under 12 hours. I remember I went out to a costume store. I bought aviator glasses. I went out to a wig shop that I've never been to before, and I bought this red wig. And then I went to a couple different shops, just finding little things that I could put together to make this cosplay. It's just such a fun thing to do, to connect to the character more and just have fun, you know? Like, you don't have to post about it. You don't have to do anything. It's just fun to play dress up, you know? Like, I'm 21 years old and I play dress up all the time. It's just so much fun to do, and it makes you feel all the more connected to your favorite movie or favorite character. So speaking of characters and creating characters, I kind of recently got into a new hobby. About January of 2022, I would say, I got into miniature painting through a friend of mine because he would always be painting them. And I was like, that looks like a lot of fun. I kind of want to get into that. And I ended up buying a Star Wars Legion starter set. It was the Galactic Empire starter set with Vader, Luke, stormtroopers, an AT-RT, you name it, it probably had it. And I remember going and buying a bunch of paints, and I just sat down and I started painting these miniature Star Wars figurines. If you guys don't know what Star Wars Legion is, it is a tabletop RPG, obviously Star Wars, and it's a role-playing game. So you play as these characters and you fight, basically. It's a lot of fun. I've never played Star Wars Legion before. I've only painted, but I'm totally down to get into tabletop RPGs. I want to get into Dungeons and Dragons and Legion and Imperial Assault so bad. That'll be happening soon, I hope. But regardless of whether or not you play them, it's so fun to just sit down and paint these miniatures. It's so therapeutic. It it's fun when you're painting like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and these lightsabers and ships and stuff. It's a really fun activity to do. And, you know, having a new hobby like that, it's brought a new creativity aspect into my life, which I think it's a lot of fun. And I highly recommend getting into Star Wars Legion and Imperial Assault and Armada and X-Wing. They're just so cool. Minis are very cool. So recently I went to Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, and this was about a month and a half ago. Star Wars Celebration was so much fun. It was really cool to meet so many people that love the same thing that you love. I met so many people who were into miniature painting and so many people who were into collecting and lightsabers and cosplays. If you've never been to a con, you have to go. Whether it's a small con in your hometown or Comic-Con or Star Wars Celebration London coming up, I highly recommend going because it's really cool to find people who love the same things that you love, you know? So, Star Wars Celebration, where do I even start? It was truly one of the best times I've ever had at a con. Of course, I normally go to conventions in Star Wars cosplays and specifically for Star Wars, so it was really cool to go to a convention that was all Star Wars, you know? It was all the way in California, so I was only able to bring about one cosplay, and it was my Boba Fett cosplay, which was a lot of fun. I ended up meeting Tamora Morrison on Saturday in my Boba Fett cosplay, and he was truly one of the nicest Star Wars actors I've ever met. He is the sweetest person ever. I remember standing in line being so nervous. The line went pretty quick, and I walked in, and he was greeting everybody, and I walked up to him, and I was like, I love you so much. And he was like, oh, you look amazing. I love your outfit. And I was like, I love you so much. The one sentence I was able to let out that I had been rehearsing all morning to say to him was, the passion you put into your roles is truly inspiring as an actor. And he was like, oh, that's very kind. And it was, I can't remember exactly what he said because I was in shock, but he was so sweet. And I left, and the photo op people were like, okay, wait 1 second. And I was like, okay. And they said, sorry, you have to retake your photo. You blinked. And I was like, oh, sorry. They're like, no, it's totally fine. And I got to go back in and talk to Tamora a little bit more. And it was cool to be able to actually spend time and talk to him. You know, he was truly just so kind. But I was able to meet him at Star Wars Celebration. I got a photo op with my friend Sam Witwer, which was a lot of fun. But we got a great photo together. I could go on and on about Celebration. If you want, I can make an entire podcast episode dedicated to Star Wars Celebration. It was just so much fun, and I have a vlog up from Star Wars Celebration on my YouTube channel if you guys would like to check it out. My YouTube channel is just Carly King, and it should be Celebration Vlog Day 1. It was a lot of fun, so I recommend checking it out if you've never been to a celebration and you want to know what it's like. But moral of the story, cons are so much fun to go to, and just let your inner child out and have fun with your friends and stuff. Another question I got on the anonymous app thing that I posted on Twitter was, how do I start with content creation, and how do I start a YouTube channel? Do you have any tips on starting a YouTube channel? This kind of goes along with the same subject matter in regards to embracing your inner child and bringing your inner child back to life, because I started my YouTube channel because I wanted something to keep me busy and something that I could have fun with. I started making TikToks in the summer or spring of 2020. Now, this was at the height of COVID in quarantine. So I was stuck inside all the time. I didn't go out. I only went out to grocery shop for my grandparents because they couldn't leave their house and I was capable of going out and getting groceries for them. But moral of the story, I was just stuck inside. I had nothing to do. I had no friends to hang out with because everyone had to stay inside. So like a lot of us did, I ended up binging a movie franchise, which is what a lot of us did. I had grown up loving Star Wars, and I was like, you know what? I haven't sat down and watched through all of the movies, all of the shows at once in a while. You know what I mean? And I ended up sitting down and watching all of them in order. Not release order, but in canonical order. So Phantom Menace, The Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Rebels, Solo, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Rogue One. I watched everything. I just sat in my room throughout quarantine binging Star Wars, and I got back into it, and it ignited that sort of creativity in my mind that had been lacking because I was stuck inside all of the time. And I do martial arts, so I took kind of what I knew from learning sword and bow staff and kind of translated it to the lightsaber, and I started making videos of me going to the beach and spinning my lightsaber to some calm music in the background. And for some reason, people loved it, and I loved doing it. And it was just so much fun to take myself to the beach. It got me out of the house, basically. So that was a really nice activity to do. And I just kept making videos related to Star Wars and just fun little TikToks, fun little videos here and there. I started growing my content to doing cosplays, and I transitioned to posting on Instagram, and eventually I did something that I had always wanted to do. I saved up all of my money and I spent it on a Canon EOS M50 camera. My first YouTube video was an Ahsoka Tano makeup tutorial, and I remember posting that in December of 2020. I just loved doing YouTube. It was that weird transition from making short form content on TikTok to making long form content on YouTube. I fell in love with the therapeutic part of just sitting down and focusing on creating a video that you love. And I guess that kind of brings me to my point of, if you are going to make a YouTube channel and if you are going to start content creation, make sure you're doing what you love. Don't do what other people are doing just because it's the societal norm. When it comes to content creation, the last thing you want to do is force yourself. The last thing you want to do is force yourself to make content that you don't like to make. The most important thing is find a niche. Say you love Harry Potter. Say you grew up reading the books and the books are what you're really passionate about. You can post a YouTube video about your review of the Sorcerer's Stone, or your top 5 favorite Slytherin house members, or your ranking of the movies, your ranking of the books. This could go for anything that you love. If you love Star Wars, you can start doing lore videos. You can start doing cosplay videos, literally anything. All you need is a camera. The best advice I could give for content creation when you're starting out, you don't need any insane gear. I started out making TikToks on my iPhone 6. Eventually, I transitioned to an actual camera because I had saved up and I really wanted to invest in my business that I was creating. So I bought a Canon EOS M50 and a Rode VideoMic Pro. And I always tell my friends who are starting YouTube, go for the Canon EOS M50 and go for the VideoMic Pro, because these two pieces are really good equipment for starting YouTube. I still use my Canon M50 and I've had it for 2 years at this point, and I love it. And it's such a good little camera for starting out on YouTube. You can do sit-down videos with it. You can vlog with it, and it's a great quality for a great price. I believe I got mine for around $600, and my Rode VideoMic Pro was about $50. It was a big expense. I mean, at this point, I was saving up while working at Jersey Mike's. I was making subs every day at Jersey Mike's, and I spent my money on this camera, and I ended up making a schedule of the videos I wanted to make every week, and I quit my job. I put my 2 weeks in, and I was like, I'm going to focus all of my energy and all of my time into making these videos and making content that I love to make. So I did that, and I invested in this equipment, and I started going full-time on my YouTube channel. When I tell you, making these small investments into your content creation, if you're truly passionate, is a really big step. If you believe in what you're doing, you should make these investments into your future, because if you spend the money on a camera like the Canon EOS M50, you'll eventually make that money back. So yeah, my advice is just quit your job at Jersey Mike's and do this full time. No, I'm just kidding. Don't quit your job, please. But yeah, if you guys have any questions in regards to starting out as a content creator, I highly recommend checking out YouTube channels like Catherine Manning, or if you just look up how to start a YouTube channel in 2022, you'll go down this huge rabbit hole of just advice and what you should put your energy into. So I highly recommend just binging YouTube videos about how to start creating content. So yeah, if you have any more questions about starting out as a content creator, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to offer as much help or advice as I possibly can, because it's so fun to be able to talk about what you love and do what you love. And I believe that it's YouTube that really taught me to not be afraid of what I love and not be afraid to embrace my inner child. I guess that's my point of all of this. It's just, you shouldn't be afraid of what other people think, you know? You only live once. You should make the most of the time you have here. You shouldn't worry about what other people think of what you love. That's it, you know? I really wanted to make the first episode of this podcast just why people shouldn't be afraid to embrace their inner child. And I'm really excited for the future of this podcast. This is only the first episode. This is a very chill episode compared to what I have in store for the future. I have some pretty insane interviews coming up with some people. I have fun episodes planned, and I hope you guys learned something today. I'm sorry I go on these long tangents, but I feel like it's good for me to have a podcast as an outlet to let all of it out. Be sure to check out the Hello There podcast Twitter, as well as my Instagram and my YouTube channel, where I upload all of these episodes. Eventually, we will be going to a video podcast. It won't always be just me talking into a microphone. I'll have a setup. It'll be big. But definitely stay up to date on my Twitter and on my Instagram, where I post all of the updates that I possibly can. I'll have new podcasts coming out every Tuesday, unless I don't and I'm lazy. I love you guys, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are listening to this, and may the force be with you always.